All right, everyone, we start off today talking about Biden's trickle-down economics, which is literally what his infrastructure proposals are. It's shovel-ready 2.0. The idea is that you shower a bunch of money on a bunch of federal and state-level projects, and you're hoping that they bring a return. Historically speaking, they don't. Centrally planned projects of that type typically never build a return. If they do, it's way down the road. The idea that the federal government is going to be able to massively expand infrastructure and this will cause economic growth, China's been trying this. It doesn't work. What happens is you have the growth and then you build the infrastructure to accommodate it. Private sources are usually more efficient at this. Now, link in the description to this particular story. And second to that, there will be a pinned comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. There will also be links in the description of the video cross-platform to other sites where I'm hosting videos. Keep in mind, I no longer use Dailymotion. I'll be starting today with Minds.com instead, so you can join me there as well. I make 2 videos a day that are exclusive just to those sites and do not appear on YouTube. Now here's the kicker. The Rinos, in the Senate especially. You've got Murkowski. Mitch McConnell is actually on board, although he's confusingly at the same time praising Sinema for saying she won't vote for the infrastructure negotiations. And then other, Romney. There are a total, I think, of 15 Republicans, which I do not believe is quite enough on the Senate side to get things through yet. I think they're like 1 or 2 short still, and they're still negotiating. What's happened, the initial infrastructure bill, which is mostly not about infrastructure anyway, and that which is in it is shovel-ready 2.0. And again, I don't believe that it would ever bring an economic return. There's some COVID bullshit in there. There's subsidies of a million different types. It's been slimmed down considerably. Initially, it was like $5 trillion. They got it down to 3.5. Now it's 1 trillion. So it's considerably more streamlined. And this is actually risking the bill passing from the left. Because you got to understand there are people on the left that might balk at the idea of delivering such a slimmed down bill with so much Republican cutting and so forth. It might be difficult to get it passed. Like in the House, you might see AOC, Ilhan Omar, and people like that walk out and not vote for it. That would make the Democrats look mighty weak and schismatic, especially if it passes anyway, and it's a bunch of rhinos doing that, which would alienate them from the populist side of the party, and I'll get to that in a moment. And also you got senators. Warren would probably be aboard, but Sanders might not. He might be Bernie Sanders might torpedo and say, no, I need more money in it, because he doesn't understand economics. Personally, I don't think there should be any infrastructure bill. Not unless it specifically involves infrastructure, which is less than half of the money in this bill. It's basically a money and power grab. Now, Trump put out a statement the other day. He's threatening to primary any Republican that backs this negotiated bill. I support him in this. But I think he should primary out all the rhinos regardless anyway. Yes, Mitch McConnell is one of the people on this list. It looks like Donald Trump may be taking aim at overhauling the Senate leadership among Republicans, not just kicking out a few of the worst rhinos like Liz Cheney or Mitt Romney. We already know that Trump wants to get them out of there. He may very well be successful, especially with Liz Cheney. I think all the rhinos need to be out. It would be nice if the Republican Party would solidify itself in being respectable and worth voting for. The rhinos are pussies. They've been pussying around, like with this bill. What they should say is we're not going to vote for any iteration of this bill. It's simply passing any additional spending beyond a budget we want to slim down anyway at this time is terrible. It's a horrible idea. Let's inflate the currency and waste money on infrastructure projects when we're dealing with economic damage from lockdownerism. What the Republicans should do is say, we're not even going to bother negotiating. Pass it yourself, and then when the economic damage is done over the next few years, we will kick you out, and then we won't do that again. We will make our case to the voters. That's what Trump would like to do. That's what Republicans that are actually conservative would like to do. It'd be nice if the party were comprised of people who were liberty-minded, who didn't want to just piss and fritter money away. This is my problem with the Republicans. They look down the barrel of a gun of a $5 trillion spending bill that would have caused economic havoc, and they say, well, we'll just reduce it in size and reduce the amount of havoc. And that's considered positive negotiation. Well, it's not. Saying you're not going to pass it at all is. Reducing the budget, fighting for a reduced budget would be winning the battle. Instead, the Republicans give a little bit of room. The Democrats do the big ask, the Republicans get a little bit closer, and then they pass it. They've been doing this for years. The Trump Republicans don't. The Libertarians don't, but the Rinos do. It keeps happening. They do this with gun control. With gun control, they're like, well, hell no, we don't want new gun control. Oh, but a couple aspects of your proposal sound okay. Well, that's not the way to do it. What you should be doing is counter-proposing that you eliminate all gun control in the country. Why don't you give the big ask for once? You see, the Republicans aren't in the business of doing that. This is partially by design, to keep this in mind. Some Republicans are basically in league with the same globalistic forces as the neoliberals. Then you've got the left, which are sleazebags and economic hacks by and large. Some of them mean well, they're just, stupid. And then you've got a small but quickly growing group of GOPers, and a handful of leftists, actually, that are more populistic. They have different views in mind, but they have ultimately the same goal, actually representing people, as opposed to Fortune 500 companies, big banks, big tech, and, the political elite. That's basically who the Democratic Party at the moment is governing for. And there are Republicans that say, well, we're just going to lessen the damage. Yeah, you can have your... Initially they said, we don't want any form of bill, we're not going to negotiate, and they stamped their feet, and now you've got all of these rhinos, including the Senate minority leader, climbing on board. Well, this is typical GOP. It was all posturing to get the Democrats to trim part of the bill out. It's still $1 trillion. Okay, that may sound like a lot less considering the last iteration's 3.5, but it's still unnecessary spending, and the Republicans should be making that case. My hope is that there are enough Republicans with principles to torpedo it and force them to use budget reconciliation. The Democrats, once they figure they have to do that, will probably pile more money into it anyway. They'll get something else through that's trillions of dollars more. The Republicans should sit back and refuse to even show up. That's about all. Peace out.